Think about the guy that started that relationship his sophomore year or his freshman year and had been with that coach and visits with that coach and phone calls with that coach and DMs. And that coach has been following you and you're posting 4, 5, 6 times a week. And this coach just gets to know you and loves you and really likes you as a person too. That's going to get you more money at the end of the day.
Relationships matter, man.
You're listening to the Football Scholarship Podcast, the playbook for parents and athletes who want to secure the best football scholarships possible. From securing a D1 football scholarship in the SEC at Ole Miss at just £500, £700, myself, to helping 83% of the athletes I mentor achieve football scholarship offers and 42% going Division I. I've learned countless lessons that I'll be sharing right here with you. Join me and my co-host, Brian Overton, who has 15 years of D1 college football recruiting experience, as we interview top experts, successful athletes, and discuss current recruiting trends. Together, we'll help you navigate the recruiting process so you too can achieve your dream of running out of that tunnel in front of 100,000 screaming fans. This is Richie Contartesi with the Football Scholarship Podcast, alongside our co-host Brian Overton, who has 15 years of Division I recruiting experience. And today we're going to be talking about negotiating college football scholarships. Not every college football scholarship is a full ride. And, a lot of times at the Division I, G5, Power 4, those are full rides. And even at the FCS, they're partials. But a lot of Division IIs and NAIA scholarships are partial scholarships. And a big mistake that a lot of parents and athletes make is taking those offers at face value and not really knowing that a lot of those offers that coaches do give to athletes and do give to families are negotiable. And usually when they give them, they put them on the lower side because they know that some parents and athletes will negotiate. The ones specifically, Brian, that watch our videos and that understand the process. So in this podcast, we're going to kind of break down this whole negotiation, how it works, how to handle it, and how you can use the system that we use with 83% of the athletes that earn college football scholarships that we mentor that negotiate. Because pretty much every athlete that we work with that does get a D2 or an NII, and it's not a full ride, then they'll absolutely negotiate and they'll get 80%. They'll go from a 50% scholarship to a 92%, right? I shared that story recently on YouTube with Cooper. Or we had another athlete just yesterday literally get an additional 80% in his athletic scholarship by just negotiating. And we're talking one phone call, right? This isn't like a 7-week process or, gut wrenching. Like, this is really simple, right, Brian? Like when you worked with Felix yesterday and helped him negotiate to get an additional 80% of athletic money, like this is one call, no?
Yeah, it was really a call that's going to happen like no matter what. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you're
They,
gonna get the call anyways.
yeah, it was a call. Those NAI Division II programs. Eventually, you're going to have like an official call, typically with the head coach. Where they actually lay out the exact numbers that they're offering you. As far as, athletic money, any academic money and things like that they're going to give you. So the call is going to happen anyway, typically. So, to be prepared for it and ready for it is key. They actually got they actually got a message from the coach, and told them to call. They kind of sent over the numbers in a document, and they kind of told them, well, the call was going to be in an hour. So they didn't really have a ton of time, to get ready for it. The coach kind of sprung it on him because he had some stuff going on. They had tried to reschedule it a couple of times, and that was, the first time he was available and wanted to go ahead and do it. So, they reached out to us. We took a look at it, and followed our steps, and ended up working out really good for them. So, if it's a call that's going to happen anyway, you might as well just be prepared for it, and kind of know what to expect so you can attack it the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the first thing, like you're going to have this call anyways. And so, you definitely, a couple things to keep in mind is when you go into this call, you definitely don't want to be like hard nosed, right? This isn't like you versus them. You definitely don't want to do that. You want it to be a partnership, right? Where they win, it's a win. That's the good thing about business, right? We teach athletes how to be businessmen. And this is the good thing in business, like every relationship isn't a I win, you lose, right? In business, like or a football game, someone has to win and someone has to lose. In business, it doesn't have to be like that. It could be a win-win situation where they win, you win, and everybody's happy, right? And that's what they want too. So going into it hard nosed and all that, like that's not going to work, right? So you want to go into these scenarios with gratitude, right? With professionalism, with excitement, because like you may have multiple offers you're negotiating, but there's a kid out there that has none and would love to be in your situation, right? And also like
Amen.
these coaches are more than happy to give more money and negotiate with people who are really excited to be there, who really want to be a part of it. And you might be like, well, Richie, that contradicts negotiation, right? You want to be like, oh, I can walk away. Yeah, you want to be willing to walk away. And you could do that in the questions you ask, not in your demeanor, right? So going into these calls with gratitude and professionalism is going to be key. It's going to be really, really important, um, you know, to that process. Brian, I know you
Yeah, and I
shared.
can give you
Yeah,
yeah,
go
and I
ahead.
can give you the direct example, of what happened yesterday. I mean, right to your point. This is for full context. This student athlete had, basically three options on the table, and all of them looked a little different. But the school he was having a conversation with yesterday was on paper his top choice, not just numbers wise, but like, coaching staff. It checked a lot of the other boxes. They really liked the school. They went on a trip there, went on a visit there. So it was kind of their top overall school. Okay, but they did have other options. Okay, so to Richie's point, a little bit of what we coached them on was, hey, be very appreciative, obviously, because this school was coming in a little shorter on the money they were offering them athletically than other schools, but they really liked them. So we coached them really hard on being very appreciative on the call of the opportunity and the offer that they were getting and things like that. And, on the call with them, when I was on the phone with them before the meeting was taking place, I just simply told them, I gave them, just really easy strategy, to kind of build into them telling them how much, they appreciated the offer. So kind of what they did in presenting that to them, there was another school, kind of their number two school, was offering more money than their favorite that they were getting ready to get on the phone with. And so in the opening, when they were when they were showing appreciation for the opportunity and things like that, they really made it come across as like, hey, you guys are our top choice. We really want to go there. But in full transparency, there's another school that is offering, X amount of dollars more than you guys are. And we're trying to, figure all that out. And then they parlayed that into, is there any other way that we can up the dollar amount, based on, what you offered us? And then it turned into a conversation, you know what I mean, about how they see him fitting in, to the offense, you know what I mean, and why they like him, why the family likes the school, and they made it very evident to them, to Richie's point, that that was their top school and they really wanted to play there. But the coach understood that it's a little bit of business aspect of where the other school was kind of outbidding them a little bit.
It's
So,
a business,
that's a
100%.
that's a direct correlation of what he's saying. They told them they were getting, that they were underbidding without it sounding, you know what I mean, like you're butting heads, like he was talking about. They just brought it up in the context of still saying we really like you guys and want to make it work. And is there anything we can do to try to close the gap conversation more so than, no, you guys really got to do this because this other school, that wasn't the conversation. And that's why it ended up, working out, and they, got a pretty big percentage bump, at the end of the day. But I
Yeah.
was trying that's a direct correlation of what you just said.
Yeah. And we'll and Brian nailed it. Like when you have other offers, like a question we get a lot is like, can I use the other offers to negotiate? Absolutely, you can. And you definitely want to. And if you don't have other offers, that's fine too. If you follow what we share, then you could still get more money, right? Like you don't have to have other offers. Does it help? Sure. Is it going to be the difference maker in every situation? No, definitely not. One thing Brian mentioned there that is really important is how is really bringing to the forefront early on in the call the value that the player is going to bring to the school, right? In the negotiation, you want to remind the coach, or really get the coach reminded on their own, the value that your son is going to bring to that particular school. So getting them talking about your son while he's there and how he's going to impact the football team and the value he's going to bring and how he's going to help them win games and keep the coach his job, all of these different things, right? Like that's going to make that's going to make them kind of remember like why we offered him and the value he is going to bring to the team. And maybe we should find more money, right? So Brian brought that up, and it's really important. It's part of the system that we teach, is really making sure to reiterate the value that the player has and that he brings to the team, and making sure that's a part of that conversation. Because these coaches, I mean, Brian, these coaches are talking to tons of kids. They're, especially at the Division II level, they're bobbling so many different players and offers. And is this kid going to take the D1 AA? Can we keep him at the D2, or are we going to pull from an NAI? Like there's so many things going on. They don't remember every little thing. And a lot of times they're just trying to get the deal done. So just giving them that reminder is going to help. It's going to help. And I think that
Yeah.
made an impact yesterday.
Yeah, it did, and even his mom, ended up saying, like, we wouldn't even have, honestly, we wouldn't even have thought to ask for any more money or even attack it that way. They just liked the school so much. She said, if we wouldn't have talked to you guys, we probably would have just took what they sent over to us, and been happy. And that's okay. I'm not saying that's bad, but she was so glad that they didn't attack it that way, and ended up, getting a nice little bump over a 4-year period, that adds up really quickly. But she even said that, and, like we tell them all the time, some people are just not even willing to have that conversation. So, you obviously, if you don't have the conversation at all, you're definitely not going to get any more, money added on there. But the way, that we talked about structuring it and fitting it in there made them more comfortable, doing it that way.
See, that's where you nailed it, Brian. It's like, it comes from confidence, right? Like the ability to jump on a call with a coach, a school that you want to go to that's already offered you, and have the confidence to ask the right questions and negotiate a deal. Um, is everything, right? And it's just like even the players, like when we work with players, typically they're very confident on the football field, the product, the delivery, working out, calling plays in the huddle, right? Whatever. They're really confident. But when it comes to marketing and sales, they have no confidence, right? Like they don't
Yeah.
understand the business aspect. And it's the same thing here, right? Like when you're going into a negotiation and you know what you're doing and you've practiced it, and Brian jumped on with them and role played it, right? And you're role playing and you're practicing it. By the time you get to talk to the coach, you're confident. And if you're confident, you can get an extra, 40,000 over 4 years, or an extra 35,000 over or 4 years. And a couple other athlete scenarios last year, 80,000 over 4 years, just by one phone call, right? And having confidence in that phone call. And I think you nailed that, Brian. It's like having the confidence to do it, right? And the
Yeah.
assurance that, hey, like I can do this, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, coming in with that gratitude, professionalism, really bringing out why the value that athlete brings, and then really breaking down the offer itself, right? Like all the different types of money that schools can give you, right? There's the academic money, the athletic money, the grants. And so, excuse me, we call that scholarship stacking, right? Which is like stacking all the different types of scholarships that schools can provide, right? And so you've got to get really clear with this coach, um, all of the different scholarships that they can potentially offer you, and understand the entire offer, right? Does it include, tuition, fees, room, board, books? What is specifically included in this offer? And this is so important because you don't know everything that's included in the offer. You're at a big disadvantage when it comes to negotiating it. Like if you don't know, like how are you going to say, well, hey, if you throw this, this, and this in, you know, we'll be moving forward, right? So asking these questions to understand what the actual offer is is going to make your life easier in the negotiation process, and also like help you make a decision, right? Like I'm not making a decision if I don't know all the ins and outs of everything that's involved. Are you?
No, not at all.
Yeah. Well, a lot of
And
people
the
are
other
like, go ahead, Brian.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Um, and that was one thing she brought up too, like what you're just talking about right there, you know what I mean? And they said this several times, but obviously it's things that they would have never thought of to ask for just in general. You know what I mean? So, that's why it's important to know. Ask for different. Are there other pools of money? Because let's be real here, guys. A smart coach is going to keep some things in his pocket every now and then for certain players that he
100%.
likes. In the event that they do have these conversations with them and they really need to go back there and get them to try to get the player. You know what I mean? So that's why all those things are critically important. You know.
Yeah, that's literally that was. I know I shared this in another video, but that was Cooper's story, right? Is we were able to go get another $40,000 because this coach had a grant in his pocket, right? And they really liked him.
Yeah.
Um, so like,
And
man,
the other example I can give you is, the NFL model is that way. Now we're not talking about scholarships, but they're trying to get the best player they can get for the cheapest cost, right? That's how you build a roster, right? Well, the college coaches in those divisions are doing no different, guys. Like they're going to
great
try to get the
analogy.
best player they can get for the cheapest cost they can get, and for the ones they feel like they need to, throw a little more on the table, that's what they do. But if in the negotiation phase, just like when they're negotiating NFL contracts, if the agent goes in there and looks at it first time, doesn't ask for anything else, hey, we'll take it, and everybody's happy and they're hugging, and in the front office people walk out and go back to their offices and they're like, holy smokes, we just got a steal, we just got this guy for peanuts, because they didn't even ask for anything else, so that it's the same thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
I get it. It's not pro. That's not what I'm saying. It's not pro football. It's not on that level. But the analogy is the same. Like they're probably going to offer you. Not very often if they really want you, or they're going to offer you the max. Typically, if
Yeah,
they
no
really
kidding.
like you.
I mean, so
You
like the
know.
way that it works, and just so everyone's clear on this, is like at these lower levels is they have a specific number of scholarships, whether it's D2, you got 36, right? It's like, here's how many scholarships. And what they do is they take the value of those scholarships to a dollar amount and they add them all together. So just for an example, right? Let's say you have 36 scholarships and each scholarship is worth 10,000, right? That's not what they're worth, by the way. That would mean that that school has $360,000 at any time of money to give, right? So they've got 85 guys or 120 guys on their roster. They're going to have walk-ons, but let's just say they want to, have 80 guys or 50 guys that are on scholarship, right? They can't give everybody a full offer, right? They only have this pool of money. So they're going to take 10,000 for this guy, 3,000 for this guy, 4,000 for this guy, 20,000 for this guy, right? Until that 360 is used up. So that's pretty challenging. You know what I mean? Like, hey, here's a pool of money I
A
got.
salary cap.
Yeah, here it's a salary cap. Here's the roster that I need to build. And then, man, am I going to let this guy walk? So there is no perfect science for this. There is no perfect. And that's why if you really get a coach to like you, you build a relationship with them over time, which is what we teach. You do the outreach, you market yourself. They're constantly seeing you on X, you're in their DMs, you're in their email, you're having phone calls with them, you go on the visit with them. And then at the end, you're like, hey, we need an extra 5,000 a year to get us to a full ride. What can you do? This coach loves you. This coach wants you. They don't want you to walk away at this point, and they'll go and they could potentially go find it, right? Because there is no they might have a salary cap guy, but these lower divisions, they don't have like a designated guy. So like their decision making process on this money is like very, you know, not perfect. I'm not going to say it's not organized, but it's not perfect. You know what I mean? And it's going to be different for every single school. Um, so the ability to ask and get that money is there, and it's not as difficult. It's not as perfectly structured and organized as you may think it is.
No, it's knowing the questions to ask and then having a good strategy of how to fit them into the conversation and feeling good about it. That's what it boils
Yeah.
down to.
But I think also, Brian, like we mentioned, it's everything before, right? It's like if you just met the coach and they really liked your film and you're just really late in the process, yeah, they may still get you more money. But think about the guy that started that relationship his sophomore year or his freshman year and had been with that coach and visits with that coach and phone calls with that coach and DMs, and that coach has been following you and you're posting 4, 5, 6 times a week, and this coach just gets to know you and loves you and really likes you as a person too. That's going to get you more money at the end of the day.
Relationships matter, man.
So, you know, we preach this a lot. Like, I'll tell you right now, don't reach out to us if you're 25. Like, I just we have a big training going on in our office headquarters here in Las Vegas, and I'm sitting in the conference room as they're doing this training, and we have people 25s reaching out to us, and we just have to tell them, sorry, you test us, reach out to us, test us. If you say you're a 2025, we tell you right away, sorry, we can't help you. Here's some free resources. Like, it's too late. It's too late in the game, right? And so, I mean, we had one this morning, Brian, that like this mom, I felt terrible watching them because like I'm not the one doing it. Like I have team members doing this, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching this. I'm like, I feel bad for this mom because she had been literally following me for the last year and a half and just never reached out, and then reached out
Yeah.
today, and we had to tell her, sorry, we can't help you. Like,
Yeah,
um,
because it's just managing expectations at this point. You want to be very transparent with them. So yeah, it can turn into some sad situations, though. I'm sure.
I felt bad. Like I truly felt bad, but it's like you had a year and a half to reach out to us. Um, and like it's just like I'm just saying this in terms of like because of what we do, right? We mentor, we teach, we coach, and we hold these kids accountable, right? To becoming elite businessmen, the business side. We don't do the product side. These kids, the kids that work with us are all hard workers in the weight room, hard in the field. They do all that stuff. They just really lack the confidence, the elite communication skills, the sales skills, the marketing skills to put themselves out there, right? So I'm sorry, but Brian, I can't get that figured out in a day, man. I can't get a kid trained up on that in a week, right? Like this takes
Yeah.
time. And then on top of it, the building of the relationships takes time. And so I mentioned this because it's the same thing with college coaches, right? Like if you're 25 right now, can you still get offers? Yes. Like, and don't get me wrong, like you should be following our stuff, going through our YouTube, following the process, no doubt about it. And you could still get offers. Division two is offering until August 1st, right? JUCO and NA offer year round, right? So you absolutely should. But the amount of time it takes for us to work with the player, develop the skills, that's really what we focus on. And so we're just doing a disservice. And I say this because it's the same thing with coaches, right? The earlier you can connect with these coaches, the more time you have, whether you're a 26 now and you have a year, you're a 27 2, you're a 28 with 3, like the more time you have, the more relationships you're going to build and the more success you're going to have, the more scholarship money you're going to negotiate if you have to. Um, so I really urge, like, I don't even know why we're going down this road, but I really urge you to start as early in the process as possible. Not in eighth grade, right? But at least your
No.
freshman after your freshman year when you have game film, right? You got to have some sort of
Yeah.
game film.
Soon as you get game tape. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but the tactics of negotiating are important, and you got to do them, and you could still get money with them. But it's everything you do beforehand that are going to make those tactics even easier and are going to allow you to get even more money.
Yeah. 100%. I
So
talk. I tell our guys all the time. I talk about it all the time. Like that's why I tell them. We're getting off a little bit off topic, but we're talking about relationships. That's why I always tell them the phone call trumps the text message, man. It creates a personal relationship with the kid. Like I always felt more close to a kid that I talked to on the phone or FaceTime versus a kid that the kid could text me every day. And if I had a kid that FaceTimed me once a week, I felt closer to that guy.
Mm.
It's just human nature.
You mean when
Like,
like, when you were at Arkansas? Because you ran
or
like,
anywhere. Yeah.
if you're listening to
When
this.
I was in college, football and recruiting kids and trying to build relationships with them and their families and stuff, some of them were just huge texters and stuff, and they would bombard me with texts. I mean, all the time. And it was cool. They were trying to stay in touch. We were getting to know each other. But the kid that FaceTime me or call me like once a week or, a couple times a week, I was closer to him naturally,
Right.
you know?
And then if that kid had an ask for you, Brian, like, obviously, you gave him a full ride, but let's just say the kid had to ask. Something came up. Maybe it could be with NIL or with his family, or like if that kid at the end was like, "Hey, Brian, man, like, could you help me with tickets? Could you help me with like?"
Yeah, you're gonna go above. You're gonna try to get it done for sure. I mean, I'm talking about even a more serious matter. It coming down to there's three guys left on the board, and we got one spot left at that position. And I just feel way better about this kid because I've spent more time with him. I've talked to him a lot. Like I just feel better about him, and we take him instead of the other two. You know,
Yeah, because he won't transfer.
same difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he wants it. He wants it.
Yeah. If these divisions, these coaches in these divisions are talking to kids and the talent level may be relatively close, but you have a better relationship with them, well, yeah, he might try to give you some more money at the end to try to get you because he doesn't really want to take those other guys because he likes you as a person more. The talent
Right.
level is pretty close.
Yeah.
He wants you in their locker room, not the other two.
Yeah. 100%, man. 100%. So, couple things to keep in mind here, and that's so important. Like what Brian's sharing right now is like probably the most important thing on this entire podcast, right? Which is like the relationship that you're building and what you're doing with the coaches. A couple questions though that I want to make sure before we wrap this up that you ask are critical. All right. You got to ask. You can't beat around the bush. This is a business, right? This is a business transaction. It's a business deal. All right. So you got to ask, right? Is there room to improve the financial package to get us closer to full tuition? Right. You got to do all this stuff before the meeting. You got to make sure you frame the meeting up itself and do a good job of conducting the meeting. But that question is going to be really critical. You got to ask it. If you don't ask and you shall receive. I don't know if you ever heard that quote. Ask and you shall receive. Very important, critical question you ask. And then another really important question you got to ask is how much time do I have to make the decision about this offer? Right? Don't leave without really defining and confirming next steps. How much time do I have to make a decision about this offer? Do I have a day? Do I got to make it now? How much time do I have? It's a very important question, right? And we can get into the topic of like if they give you an extra $10,000 a year, and would you be willing to commit right away? Something you got to think about. Maybe come to that meeting prepared with a specific number, because that's leverage for you. But definitely make sure to ask how much time you have, because I've seen this time and time again, and you could scroll on X and you'll see it almost daily of players that they went back to honor their commitment. I just saw a guy yesterday from Wisconsin, a quarterback, and they said, "Sorry, we can't honor your commitment anymore." So it's a real thing. Um, so you got to ask that question. Anything else there, Brian, that we missed?
No, I think that's the gist of it. Just being prepared, knowing what to ask, and just having the confidence to ask it. I think is what it boils down to.
Right. And then also, practicing this, role playing this, right? Really, really doing those things, and having those relationships with coach are going to make a huge difference. So, uh, good stuff. I hope that this podcast provided you some value, and that you go through the negotiation process. And if you'd like to see, if you'd like to learn more about how we mentor players, to help you through the negotiation process and give you a step-by-step system to do so, excuse me, then definitely feel free to go to gonextplay.com, gonextplay.com. And if you're on YouTube and you want to watch more videos just like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification. We do post a podcast every single Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And then we post a a more systemized video every Wednesday at 3 p.m. and then an evaluation video every Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific. So if you want to continue to watch our videos and content, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification. And wherever you listen to your podcast, if it's not YouTube, if you leave us a review, it'll mean a lot, and it'll allow us to continue to make these podcasts. And feel free in that review to ask questions, right? Brian and I are always using the questions we're getting for the athletes that we mentor to come up with these podcast ideas. But if you have a podcast idea and you want us to hit on it, definitely make sure to ask that question in your review, and we will we'll hit it. We look at every single one that we get, and we want to make sure to provide you value. So thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Scholarship Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And for more free resources, or if you're interested in working with us, visit gonextplay.com. Until next time.